Hello there and welcome to this Christmas baking vlog. I know for many of you, this has become something you look forward to seeing every year. If you're new here, I hope you enjoy it. As I was gathering all of the ingredients and putting them out on the table, on the counter, I just could not believe that it is time to be doing this again. If you've been along for previous baking vlogs, I'm doing almost all of the same recipes, but one new one. I was thinking of a way to maybe shave some time off this year and to try a new recipe. So instead of chewy sugar cookie bars, I'm doing something else. So I hope they turn out. It's always fingers crossed, hope for the best. But today is a shorter baking day. I started off this morning by cleaning all of the pans and the utensils and getting out my new friend here that has come along for this baking vlog. It's a larger KitchenAid mixer and I'm so excited to have this year so that hopefully that also shaves some time off because it can handle bigger loads of cookie dough. So I've been doing all of that, getting everything prepared. I'm gonna start today with some simpler things because I actually have to stop and go to choir rehearsal. I'm playing for a Christmas concert this coming Saturday and our final rehearsal is tonight. So I don't want to get in too deep today to where I can't stop and go do that rehearsal. So I'm just going to get going. I think we're going to start off with some savory recipes and then my tea recipe, and then we'll see what else we're able to get done. All right, let's get to it. All right, first recipe is cayenne pretzels, and I double almost every recipe that I make. I have almost 40 recipients this year, so usually a double recipe of everything allows me to have just enough for everybody on my list and a little bit for my husband and I to enjoy. So this recipe is super simple and all of the recipes will be either listed down below or I will link them on my blog. This has 1 cup of vegetable oil, 1 package of ranch seasoning, 1 teaspoon of garlic salt, 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and then 1 package of pretzels. All right, it's time for the recipe that uses tang and lemonade and lots of sugar. It is the wintertime spiced tea. This time I think I'm doing 8 recipes. We'll see if I have enough ingredients. Basically, this is a pretty simple recipe. I'm able to do 2 recipes worth in a gallon-sized Ziploc bag. I've just found this to be the easiest way to mix everything together. So it's pretty simple. We do 1 cup of tang, 1 cup of lemonade, and then 1 3/4 cup of sugar. And it's really important to make sure that all of these ingredients are fresh because over time there can get a little bit of moisture buildup. So especially sugar, I have a bag of sugar that I'm going to use for other ingredients, but not for this. So I have a fresh bag of sugar here. And again, 1 3/4 cup. Kind of estimate that 3/4. And then it is 1/2 cup of tea, and it needs to be instant tea. I always prefer to do a decaf because personally I love to drink tea at nighttime and I can't handle caffeine late at night. And then the final 2 ingredients are cloves and cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of each. And then I just double it. Make sure you zip the bag fully closed and then just toss to mix. 1 down, 3 more to go. Whew, I always feel like this is a workout. I am chopping up the crystallized ginger because I'm going to go ahead and make the dough for the ginger spice cookies so that it can stay in the refrigerator overnight. So the biggest part of that, you can see my hands are all red, is chopping up the ginger. So with that task being done, now it's time to go ahead and start putting everything into my new little mixer, or my big mixer. So I'm gonna go ahead and measure everything out. This recipe has so many ingredients, I'll just list them down below. I didn't have to scrape the bowl once to get the butter and the sugar cream together, and it looks amazing. So hooray for this new mixer. It's doing a good job. So this recipe calls for mild flavored molasses, and for whatever reason, I have not been able to find that anywhere around me. So I have just started adding a little bit of corn syrup to the molasses, and that seems to work okay. All right, I took a 3-hour break. And now I want to finish out the evening with 2 final recipes, spiced pecans, and then I think I'm also going to attempt to do peanut butter fudge. So starting off with spiced pecans, I ended up with a lot of extra pecans, so we'll see how many batches that I can do, but I have my 2 pans ready to go. Again, I will list the recipe down below. This one has quite a few spices, so check the description box. Let's go. starting off with recipes that I normally do on day one, so I'm feeling very behind, but let's get going. I'm doing caramel dream bars, and I decided I'm still going to break this up and do it in 2 batches rather than putting it all in here at once, because you have to divide the crust, and I just think it's easier to divide it in half rather than in quarters. You'll see what I mean in just a moment. So starting off with the melted butter, the brown sugar in here. It's 1.5 cups of brown sugar, and a cup and a half of melted butter. So putting those in here. I have a feeling this is going to be a comedic day of baking. I'm not starting off well. Oh, if you could only see the outtakes. Okay, we're gonna start 1 teaspoon of baking soda. And now I'm going to do, see, I'm telling you, I'm going in with the wrong measuring scoops. All right, we need 2 scoops of rolled oats. 2 scoops, 2 cups. And then we need 2 cups of flour. Now, before I mix all of that together, we need to get the caramels melted. And I've learned this lesson before. It is wise to do the order of the recipe because the caramels need time to cool down just slightly. And if you can find the caramel bits, it sure does save you a lot of time. It's 2.5 bags of the caramel bits or 64 squares, but you gotta unwrap all those squares. So trust me, this is easier. Then to the caramels, we add a 1/2 cup of heavy whipping cream plus 2 tablespoons. And then we just need to melt this in the microwave at intervals. So I put it on usually for a minute and then start stirring it about every 30 seconds.
The sweet puppy. Hi, pretty girl. Are you all white and fluffy, huh? Yes, you are. You sweet girl.
After 10 minutes in the oven, and letting the crust just slightly cool, we now top it with 1 cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips, 1 cup of chopped walnuts, and then we pour our caramel sauce over the top, and then we put one final layer of the mix that we put in the base. We put that on top. So I've already mixed that up. That's ready to go. So now we just finish the layers and then bake for 20 to 25 minutes. To bake the ginger spice cookies from the dough that we made yesterday. And to do that, we just roll the balls of the cookie dough in some sugar. And then I kind of flatten the tops of them just a little bit so that they bake a little more evenly. It's after dinner time and I still have 3 recipes left to do, starting with this one, which is a new recipe this year. These are, well, they're basically sugar cookies, but they have that nice little crunch and chew to them, and they're small and they look delicious. So I decided to try this recipe this year instead of my sugar cookie bars because I was trying to shave off one more recipe, you know, the frosting. So even though this one still requires the extra task of rolling the cookies into balls and putting them in the oven, but you don't have to roll out the dough and do cookie cutters and all that. So I chose to use really good butter for just this recipe. The other butter is good too, but I'm using the Next Level just for this recipe, and I am doubling it. So we'll see how long I'm standing here rolling cookies. But the basic recipe is 2 sticks of butter, so basically 1 cup of butter, 1 cup of oil, 1 cup of granulated sugar, 1 cup of powdered sugar, and then we have vanilla, 1 teaspoon vanilla, baking soda, salt, cream of tartar, 4.5 cups of flour, and 2 eggs. So I'm gonna get started. I am putting all of this in my mixer. We're gonna really push it. That would be 9 cups of flour. We'll see how that goes. But I'm gonna go ahead and put this on, and then I will come back on when it's time to roll out the cookies. I know you know that I review a lot of makeup products and hair products, but I gotta say I am so impressed with this upgraded KitchenAid. Oh my goodness. I did not scrape the bowl once, and there is not one speck of flour or anything on the sides, and it handled 9 cups of flour plus everything else. So very impressed. And I forgot, you have to use some kind of a cookie stamp or the flat end of a drinking glass to smash them down. So one more step gotta do. Okay, just a quick update. After doing a gazillion and one of those sugar cookies and trying different things, shrinking the size of the dough balls before I put them in the oven, I don't think they're that special. And it might be because they do need a cookie press and I didn't have one. I was just flattening them. So long story short, I put the rest of the dough in the refrigerator. I have at least probably over 100 cookies already, and there's tons of dough left. We're moving on now to almond bars. I need a break of the tedium of doing cookies, so we're gonna do some bars. I'm doing a double recipe, but as before, I am going to break this up and do them separately so that I can evenly disperse them between the pans. So here we go. Starts off with a cup of butter, almond paste, almond extract. You need sugar, eggs, and flour. And again, I will link the recipe down below. After sprinkling the top with sugar, now we bake them for around 20 minutes. We don't want to over bake them though. Okay, we're down to the final 2, and I'm really tired, but I'm gonna push through. We're starting off with the Chocolate Chex mix, and then we're gonna finish off with Mrs. Claus cookies, if I can handle standing just a little bit longer. So let's get started. This has been a recipe I've done several years, so again, I'll list it down below, but 8 cups of Chocolate Chex mix, and then we create kind of a caramelized glaze over it, and then we add marshmallows and caramel and chocolate chips and white chocolate chips and all kinds of good things. Now we just spread this out on the cookie sheet, let it cool, then we sprinkle it with marshmallows, and then drizzle caramel and white chocolate and milk chocolate over the top. This year, I'm also going to be adding a little bit of some Muddy Buddies from Chex Mix. These have peanut butter and chocolate, so I just thought those might be a good little mix in for this little treat here. So instead of using peanut butter cups, which is what the original recipe calls for, I thought maybe this might be a good change of pace. So I'm gonna mix those in as well, but I'm gonna wait until this cools just a little bit. All right, we're down to Mrs. Claus's cookies, and Mrs. Claus is tired. So these are Ritz crackers. We put marshmallow puff on one side, peanut butter on the other, smush them together. I'm gonna pop them in the freezer for maybe about 15 minutes. I'll do one tray at a time as I'm working on the next. And then we dip them in chocolate and call it a day. Let's go. deliver. Gotta see if Santa Claus and his reindeer are ready to take me.